Okay, the Ukrainians and the Russians are bringing their war in Africa. Yes, you need to be aware of this. If you don't know it, I think we're gonna find out about this very much together. It is crazy, it is happening. Okay, so Ukraine is coming to Africa to counter the influence of Russia. And this means military equipment to some countries in Africa, training for military for some countries in Africa, as much as you can think about it. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You are appreciated. You're home here, hey? You want to know about the motherlands? You're at the right place. Ukraine, right here on the map, okay? They've come to Africa. They are opening an embassy in Nochuk. Where's Nochuk? Nochuk is right here in Mauritania. Brand new embassy in June 2025. Ukraine officially launched its embassy in Mauritania's capital, marking one of 8 new African diplomatic missions aimed at expanding influence and support across Sahel region. The opening underscored Kiev's intention to deepen political, economic, trade, energy, agriculture, mining, ICT, culture, and educational ties. Sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, you have this country from Europe, okay, East Europe at least, or Central Europe, whatever you want to call it, coming to Africa to deepen its ties, to create opportunities, in trades, politics, economic, energy, military, and more. It sounds good, doesn't it? But the question is, why now? Okay, why now? Well, Ukraine is going to help through food and aid in Mauritania. Yes, food and aid. I know you don't like that, but I'm gonna tell it to you. Mauritania is going to receive 400 tons of split peas from Ukraine under the Grain from Ukraine program. So Ukraine is going to give cereal or grains to Mauritania. Okay, this is going to aid school feeding initiative and refugee centers. So school kids in Africa still need food coming from Europe, especially from Ukraine, so they can feed. Now, this program that is called the Grain from Ukraine program, it's interesting. It's a humanitarian initiative launched by the Ukrainian President Zelensky, I just murdered his name right there, in late 2022, in response to the global food crisis worsened by Russia's invasion. Okay, I think this is a very interesting point to mention. Africans still need food from Ukraine in 2025. You cannot feed your children. You need food coming from Ukraine to feed your children and your refugees.
Food, animal food, anything you have on your table can be from Ukraine.
We're going to get back to this because let me just remind you here, there was a moment where a bunch of African presidents went to Ukraine and Russia to try to discuss on how to find a solution to the war they were getting entangled into. I don't know if you remember that. But the reaction of one of the Ukrainian diplomats was, Africans are not to the level of this issue that we're experiencing right now.
The African delegation had no goal for settling the conflict or finding a solution. Obviously, this is not their task. It's not on their level or their competency.
This is way beyond their level. Africans are just coming to look for food. Just to say like Africans are just beggars, okay? You have no food. The reason why you're coming to Ukraine and Russia wanting to end the war is because you're hungry. You need food. Now, don't you feel like things like this emphasizes that idea that Africans are just a bunch of poor people that need to be helped? Now, let's try to dive into this. What is this program about? Okay, the goal of the program, number one, is to combat hunger, especially in vulnerable African and Asian countries. Vulnerable Africans in Asian countries. I don't know if there are any vulnerable African countries anymore in 2025. Vulnerable, like, what is vulnerable? Like you're unable to take care of yourself. You cannot dress up. You're naked. You're vulnerable. You cannot make food for yourself. You're vulnerable. You're so poor. You need help. You're vulnerable. Are there African countries that are vulnerable like that? I don't know. Number two, provide Ukrainian grain to nations at risk of famine and severe food insecurity. I don't know. Famine and severe insecurity. How does that sound to you? It doesn't sound good to me. It sounds like poor people, like clothless, houseless, homeless people that need food, security, and stuff like that. Let's continue. Now, since then, Ukraine has continued channeling grain via WFP to support Malian refugees in Mauritania and deliver food to them. Okay, so there are a lot of Malian refugees. Context. Here's Mauritania. Here's Mali. Well, they don't really get along really well. Not right now. Mali, you would know, Mali, do you remember them? They are the good friends of the Russians, okay? The Russian military have been to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger to train and help them combat their enemies. The enemies in most cases are separatists. They are people that want to chop the country into different small countries. Some of them call them terrorists, okay? The majority of those people are not necessarily black like me. The great majority are Arab looking. They call them Berber, so the light skin, sort of Northern African type of people. Now, Mauritania gets along really well with those people that are considered as terrorists and separatists in Mali. And a lot of those people have run away from Mali. They're now in Mauritania. Now, Mali trains and works with Russia. Mauritania has a lot of people that Mali don't want. And now Ukraine is in Mauritania, offering food, training, and many other things. Let's continue. Now, Ukraine will also provide military training to counter Russian influence. Okay, Kiev is offering military training to Mauritanian forces, leveraging battlefield experience to counter Russian mercenary influence in the Sahel.
Ukraine is ready to share its experience in countering the threats we face here in Ukraine. And I mean, first and foremost, Wagner and similar paramilitary groups.
So the Ukrainians basically are saying, okay, we fought the Russians on the field. We know them. Okay, so they are in Africa too. So how about we train you on how we fought them over there? Because they are training the Malians. We're going to train you so you can know their strategies and know how to destroy them. Is this a way to bring war to Africa or not? How do you feel about this? I'm very interested to know how you feel about this. So the embassy of Ukraine in Mauritania is with the goal to obviously be more present in Africa. You know, there is an embassy in Mauritania. Now there is one in Rwanda, in Botswana, in Cote d'Ivoire, in DRC, in Mozambique, in Ghana, and Tanzania. And very interestingly, for many, many years, Ukraine had about just 10 embassies in Africa. And later on, when they were asking Africans to condemn Russia's invasion in Ukraine, and many African nations refused to vote against Russia, that is when Ukraine started forging relationships with Africans. I mean, I'm not the one saying it. You can check that. You can check the years. I mean, Ghana's got an embassy open in December 2023. That's after the war. Cote d'Ivoire in 2024. After the war. Democratic Republic of Congo 2024. After the war. Mozambique 2024. After the war. Botswana 2024. After the war. Kigali after the war 2024. Mauritania. There was no embassy there before. There used to be embassies of Russians. So Russia had a relationship with many African nations. Ukraine's relationship with Africans have strongly started after the war. Surely, can we say it's because they realized that Russia has a very strong influence among Africans and they've been leaving Africans behind for some reason? Could this be perhaps because some of them maybe think that Africans are just a bunch of poor people? You need to have these poor guys who need everything. Ukraine is making a lot of effort. Before the war, there was 10 embassies of Ukraine in Africa. Now they have about 19. Okay, they're pushing forward to try to create relationships and counter Russia's influence. Remember when the war started in Ukraine, okay? We saw a lot of videos online. I'm sure you saw that too. I think it's very necessary that we talk about this, the entire thing. And I remember particularly there was videos of many people running away from Ukraine, including Ukrainians themselves. They were trying to cross to Poland and they had to catch a train for that. And in most cases, we saw videos of Africans as well who were complaining, saying they were not allowed to go to Poland or to run away or to get into the buses or into the trains because the priority was first the Ukrainians. There was a lady from Nigeria, I believe, that was saying that I was told that the priorities is ladies first. I said, but I'm a lady. They didn't respond to her.
And when it was time to get on this bus, the Ukrainians said, just Ukrainians, literally as a black person. I even lied that I was pregnant. They didn't care. I was begging. The official literally looked me in my eye and said in his language, only Ukrainians, that's all. That if you are black, you should walk.
So in other words, it was not you. You're not that kind of lady. Not you. So they were left behind and some of them were told you need to go fight if you really are from here. So they were treated in a certain way. I mean, can we say that or not? I know racism is all over the world, but in that specific time where it's life or death, do you treat people in a particular way that clearly shows that's not you as first? Or do you allow as a human being to save their skin? Now, the difference is with Russia, and I'm not advocating for anybody at all, Russia has been clearly the friend of Africans for a long, long time, since before independence. They helped a lot of African nations to free themselves. Matter of fact, they helped the ANC of South Africa to get weapons, training. They helped people from Angola and many other places to fight against Europeans. Russia did that. And I'm not saying because they did that, you should give them a green light to everything they do. I'm just saying historically, they have shown a level of empathy toward Africans as opposed many other nations, not only Ukraine. And I'm saying again here, and I can understand that maybe Ukraine at the time did not need any relationship with Africa. Can we say that with time they realize that you cannot neglect these Africans, even though you think they're just a bunch of poor people that need grains and food? Number two, do you think that statement saying that African presidents went to Ukraine and Russia because they need food, do you think it makes sense? Or do you think it's respectful? Is that a reflection of the majority of people in Ukraine? Or that just a statement from this specific person saying it? If this was a statement that blatantly could hurt a lot of people, can we consider this as a separate incident? Now, Mauritania, as you would know, it's a very interesting country. Mauritania is considered by many people as the most racist country in the world. Yes, it's an African country, but it's one of the most racist countries toward black Africans in the world. In fact, Mauritania has a history that's very interesting. You find primarily two types of people. There are Arabs, or Arab-looking, or Berber, like this man, and there are black Africans, okay, in this country. And history, it's contradicted itself. There's one side of history that says that black people lived in Mauritania for a long, long time. Some people say that Mauritania imported black people during slavery, because there was a slavery where Arabs took away black people into slavery. I know a lot of people only know slavery of white men taking black people. There was a slavery where Arab people, Muslims, took black people away. That's why you see a lot of black people in many places like Saudi Arabia. They're black. And Qatar, and you're like, this guy is very black. Yes, a lot of them came from Africa. Now, some people say black people were in Mauritania. Some people say Mauritania took up black people. Well, Mauritania has slavery up until today. Yes. Slavery was officially abolished in Mauritania in 1981. Yes, 1981. You hear me right. So people could take somebody's son because his father was slave. They take you as a slave and you don't get paid. You just mow the lawn, you wash the dishes because your father was a slave. You continue. That's exactly how it is. Okay? Slavery was only criminalized in 2007 and further reinforced in 2015, with that classifying slavery as a crime against humanity and establishing a special court. However, the enforcement of these laws remain weak and convictions are rare. Okay? So convictions about slavery in Mauritania are very rare, even though slavery is still blatant right now against black people. Okay? Now, there are NGOs that speak out against slavery in Mauritania. Like, there are still people living under the shackle of slavery, black people being enslaved in Mauritania. And these NGOs, such as IRA, Initiative for Reverence, these activists are often imprisoned, harassed, or banned from operating. This is Mauritania, brother. No, I don't suggest you go there. No, don't go there. If you're black, no, don't go there. International community regularly criticize Mauritania government for its inaction and denial of the problem. Now, let's go into history again, okay? Now, in 1989 till 1991, there was a war between Mauritania and Senegal. You see these two countries? They fought each other over arable lands, good lands. And then Mauritania chased black people from Mauritania into Senegal. Let me remind you again, Mauritania has a lot of people that look Arab and Berber and black people. Senegal is mostly black people. When they fought each other, Mauritania took tens of thousands of black people, sent them to Senegal, even though they were Mauritanians. Now, those Mauritanians, a lot of them refused to go back to Mauritania. They said they feel actually happy to be in Senegal than being in Mauritania. They're happy in Senegal. Mauritania refused. It's only later on, many years later, that they will acknowledge, oh, actually, yes, we do have people from Mauritania that are in Senegal.
My children's future is here, not Mauritania.
Now, that's what I'm saying to you, fellas, okay? What is this? Okay, we're going toward the movement that looks like somebody's trying to create mayhem among Africans. I mean, it's just like it's not enough for them to fight each other over there. They're coming to Africa to fight one another. Let me remind you here that a while back in Mali, here's Mali, okay? In Mali, the Russians are operating. The Malians are fighting separatists that want to take a part of Mali, make it a country. Now, the separatists, for the majority of them, they look Arabs. Now, Ukraine openly acknowledged helping these people.
The fact that the rebels received the necessary information that allowed them to conduct a successful operation against Russian war criminals, the whole world has already seen this. In principle, this can be commented on. We certainly will not disclose any details, but let's say there will be a continuation. This is sensitive information. Therefore, everything that Ukraine does is happening within the limits and within the framework of international law.
So this man is saying, he claimed that it's because of the Ukrainians we helped these people hit the Malians. Now, why did they hit the Malians? The goal was to hurt the Russians that were in Mali. And by hurting the Russians, they unalived a lot of Malians as well. Now, my question is this one. If you have a problem with the Russian because he's fighting in your country, should you go fight the Russian in a different continent and, by the way, unaliving people from that continent because you're angry with the Russians, and boast about it, say, yes, we are the reason why they unalive people? Mali cuts ties immediately with Ukraine. Immediately. Burkina Faso followed through and Niger followed through. While the other Africans were beating around the bush, not knowing what to say. My question is very simple. If you go to Europe and unalive people from Europe because you're targeting some people who fought you in your country, do you think Europeans will be beating around the bush on how to condemn you? Now, let me start again. If you as an African go to Europe and unalive Europeans because you were targeting an African that fought you in Europe, do you think European countries will be there mashing the word? They'll be very simple, very clear. Don't do this anymore. We are cutting ties with you immediately. Well, Africans, they don't do that. Most of Africans stayed quiet. It's only a bunch of countries, maybe I believe Senegal, that it told the ambassador not to boast about their attack in Mali because it makes no sense. You cannot do that. That is not Russia. My thing here is there's absolutely nothing wrong with Ukraine trying to build relationships with other countries. I think it's their right, number one. Number two, maybe they realize that, you know what, we need to build a relationship with Africans. We shouldn't be perceiving them as lower grade citizens who are not allowed to get into the trains, or they cannot do anything, or they need food to survive. Maybe we need to see them as equal, which is a good thing. But do they do that really because they've realized that? Or they are doing it just because they want to gain support? That's number two. Now, should we all be the friend of the Russians because Russia in the past had done absolutely nothing to the Africans? They've never colonized. They've never done anything wrong. Well, we can't really say that because you don't know what the politics of Russia is right now. Diplomacy and things change with time. Goals and objectives do change sometimes.
But these are Mandingos. These are Mandingos. Mandingos are in Guinea. I hear they are in Mali. I hear they are in a number of countries. Mandingo, Malinke, they change. The Fulanis, these Boharis, the Fulanis, the Hausas, the Yorubas. I think Benin, some of the people are Yoruba. Benin, yes. Some of the people are Yoruba. The former president told me so, I forgot his name, told me so. Here, with the Bantu, you have heard of people called Bantu? All the way from Cameroon to here, we were all one group. Cameroon up to South Africa. When Mandela is speaking, I had a commissioner here from African Union called Bankole. Bankole is from Nigeria. I said, what does your name mean? Bankole. That it means a hard worker in the Yoruba. Do you have Yoruba here? Who is a Yoruba here? What does Bankole mean? Huh?
Your Excellency, sir, it means help build. Bankole, yes.
To help to build.
Yes, sir.
In all the Bantu dialects here, kukora, the verb kukora, means to work. Means to work. So, the Niger Congo, the language group known as Niger Congo, has got the Bantu, we, from Cameroon all the way to South Africa, and also what we call the Kwa, Kwa group, which means the Igbo, the Yoruba, those are Khans, the ones who performed witchcraft for me when I landed. They brought water to do something, they call it libation. When I arrived in Uganda, they performed some, I think all those are part of the Kwa. So if you listen to the word, a lot of similarities. There was a woman from Nigeria here called Ngozi. She was finance minister. When she came, I said, "What does your name mean?" It means love in Igbo. And that's exactly what it means in one of our languages here. So, when we, the Pan-Africanists, tell you that you people, how will you solve your prosperity? Love your countries, love Nigeria, love Ghana, love Uganda, because you need them for your prosperity if you are going to be a wealth creator. But secondly, even in Nigeria, even Uganda, individuals are not enough. So love Africa, Pan-Africanism. Why? Because you need them for your prosperity. And then we go beyond that and say, by the way, prosperity is not enough. You need to be prosperous but also strong. And how can you be strong? You go for political integration where possible, where possible. I like those young people of yours, these young people in Niger, Mali, these who have formed a confederation. I like those young children there, those young boys. Very good. Let them challenge you people. Let them unite, and you continue with your big fishes in small ponds. A big fish here, a big fish there, in small ponds. So we are saying, by the way, the people we are telling you to unite for their own good, they are either similar or linked. So that's how we said, what are the language groups in Africa? The population of 1.5 billion. What are the linguistic classifications? They are just 4. Niger Congo, Bantu Kwa, Nilo-Saharan. Nilo-Saharan is like the Fulanis, the Hausa, those Somalis, they belong to that group, the Nilo-Saharan. Then the Afro-Asiatic, the Arabic, and Tigrinya, and Amhara in Ethiopia. Then there is a small language in Southern Africa called Khoisan, the ones who speak with the Creeks. These are the 4 linguistic groups. But in some cases, we even have a language like Swahili here, which is a neutral language, which can unite us. So, it is this background that I start when I see you young people here. I want to capture you and try to show you our vision, which we have been fighting for all these years. You go and check on the internet. If you go to the USA, the percentage of people in agriculture, Americans are now like 320 million. But the ones in agriculture are only 2%, I think. You can go and check. Because the economy changed from just being agriculture to being manufacturing and services. So people left agriculture. many people, they left it to few people. But in Africa, in the 1970s, when I was fighting Amin, I took a holiday of fighting of 2 years and taught economics in a college in Tanzania. And one of the topics I used to like to teach was called the characteristics of backwardness. How do you identify backwardness? Now, one of the characteristics of backwardness is the number of people in agriculture, percentage of people in agriculture, compared to the ones in industry and manufacturing. If you go, UK, it must be like 2%, but in Africa, everybody is in agriculture. 70%, 80%. They are doing nothing there. Because if you look at, like Uganda has got 40 million acres of good arable land. Now, with modern machinery, how many people do you need to look after 40 million acres? You can calculate it. With a tractor, in a season, how many acres can one tractor till? You can get the number of people who should reasonably be in agriculture. But now you find the whole agriculture is full. Grandfather is there. Son is there. Grandchild is there. Great-grandchild, the whole thing is there. On 2 acres of land.
Great. So we are in Russia. We need to talk about this. This is very important. Donald Trump is very, very angry. He said, in fact, that Putin was crazy. He's lost it. What has occurred to this guy? What has happened to this man? I mean, I thought we were friends. Oh, I thought we got along. I don't know what's happened to this man. I thought he just wanted a part of Ukraine. But now, he probably wants the entire Ukraine. He's crazy.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
This sounds very scary because if Trump is speaking this way, I mean, this is the very Trump that we heard was going to find a quick solution in Russian and Ukrainian war. It has been very difficult so far. Again, this is the very Trump that looked to be siding with Putin, if not at least being very friendly with Putin, unlike other Western nations. Is this an opportunity to get Trump to side with other Western nations? Wouldn't this be dangerous for Russia if Donald Trump also believed what the Europeans are believing against Vladimir Putin? Is Vladimir Putin putting himself in the wrong position? Well, let's find out. The Russians have said, with regard to Trump's reaction, that it was too emotional. He was being emotional in his reaction.
It's a very crucial moment, which is associated, of course, with the emotional overload of everyone absolutely and with emotional reactions. We follow this very closely.
What does this mean? That Donald Trump didn't think thoroughly before making a comment. So what has occurred? Trump is angry because Russia hit Ukraine with the biggest airstrike since the beginning of the war. What Trump believes it's simple. He says we've had a talk, a discussion, and I feel like we're going toward the right direction. Why did they choose right now to hit Ukraine with 365 drones and missiles? They had never done that in the past. But we're talking right now. We're trying to find solutions. And I thought we were going to the right directions. Why are they hitting Ukraine now with that amount of missiles and drones, unaliving soldiers and civilians? It makes no sense. Because since the war started, you had never done this before. Why are you choosing to do it now? Now the Russians have responded. The Russians said this is a response. On May 20th, 2025, in Russia, Kursk Oblast, according to Major General Daskin, a Russian air defense commander. Putin helicopter was allegedly at the epicenter of a large-scale Ukrainian drone attack during a visit to the region, making his first trip there since March 2025. So what they're trying to say is Vladimir Putin was flying over Kursk with his helicopter, and he was flying over Kursk. They tried to unalive him with drones. They knew that Putin was in that helicopter. The Russian air defense intercepted and destroyed 48 Ukrainian drones, neutralizing the threat before it reached the president's flight path. So they neutralized the threat before it reached president's flight path. You know, every aeroplane has a flight path. So if drones are coming towards your flight path, it means they're targeting you. Now, Putin was flying over Kursk. Kursk is that land of theirs, trying to visit for the very first time. And the Ukrainians sent drones to destroy. I mean, I'm just asking, do you really think by unaliving Putin you're going to end the war? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Do you think if you unalive that guy, the war ends? Or do you actually push people to the next level? Like, there's that other guy. What's his name? The other one that was president. Medvedev. He's wilder than Putin. Okay? There's Sergei Lavrov. He's wild too. Like, is this big a solution? I don't know. Look, I don't want to die. I don't want to be through World War III. I want to have 11 children. I don't have. You're putting everybody at risk here. So the Russians are literally saying that the reason why we hit Ukraine at this large scale like never before, it's because they tried to assassinate Putin. Knowing that he was flying over Kursk with his helicopter, they sent drones hoping to destroy his helicopter. But the Russian air defense did its job protecting the president, and the airplane convoy protected him appropriately. Are the Ukrainians capable of this? Well, they're very capable, trust me. We're going to look into some names that Ukrainians have taken out. These are high-profile Russians. Lieutenant General Igor Kirilov. This happened in December 17, 2024. Kirilov was head of Russian Radiation, Chemical and Biological Defense Force. He was killed in Moscow by a bomb attack to an electric scooter out of his apartment. So this man was not just anybody, okay? He was the head of Radiation, Chemical and Biological Defense Force. This is all that's related to atomic bombs and chemical weapons and biological weapons. That's the head. Him and his secretary were unalive. It takes a level of, this is in Moscow, it takes a level of something to do such thing. General Yaroslav Moskalik. He was a high-ranking general and deputy chief of General Staff Men's Operation. He was killed in a car bomb in Moscow. He was the key figure who regularly briefed President Putin on the war in Ukraine. So this is the guy that went to see Putin and briefed him. I mean, if you can reach this person that briefs the president, does that mean you're very close to reaching the president? Question mark. Admiral Valery Transkovsky. He was unalive in November 2024. He was a Russian naval captain in charge of the brigade missile ships in the Black Sea. So this was the chief of missiles in the naval, in the boat, in the ships. They shot missiles. He gave the command. He was unalive somewhere near Moscow in a car bomb attack. Mikhail Shavsky. He was a missile specialist and deputy director of Russia Cruise Missile Research Program. He was reportedly assassinated in Moscow. This is the guy that was in charge of long-range missiles. Just imagine if you can take out these people throughout 3 years of war. Like, what kind of a specialist are you? These are not easy people. I mean, let me tell you something. I get the sense that Ukrainians are stronger than Americans. I'm sorry. If you give these people the weapons and the intelligence and the technology Americans have, I don't think they can stand the ground. These people are strong. They're very strong. They're well-spirited. They're brave. Because, yeah, they are brave. They have capabilities. Daria Dugina was the daughter of a Kremlin ideologue, Alexander Dugin. She was killed in a car bomb attack near Moscow. US intelligence assessed that part of the Ukrainian government authorized the attack, though Ukraine officially denied the involvement. So that's what it is, fellas. Trying to unalive Putin. Putin hits very hard. Trump is very angry, saying Putin is crazy. And we're asking ourselves a lot of questions. Is Donald Trump being briefed appropriately with what's happening in Russia? If Russia was truly just responding to the attack against the president. Number two, is killing Putin the solution to this war? Will it end the war or escalate it to the next level? Do you think Vladimir Putin is right by saying that Ukraine should not join NATO and nor should they be too close to the West because it represents a danger to Russia? Therefore, he's going to take a part of Russia that is Russophone, where people speak Russian, so he can protect them. Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. God bless.